Here I am with Ian Jenkins at Snakes Down Under. Now tell me, how many endangered species have you bred here?
I'm going to spoil things for you now because we actually haven't bred any endangered species at the moment. Okay, we're about to receive a couple of broad-headed snakes, which are endangered snake species found in the hinterland near Sydney. They've just been, well, about 4 years ago, been put into a breeding program. Actually, it's 3 years ago, and we're about to start in that breeding program, having received these two youngsters. Okay. Now, the only other animals that we've got that are close to endangered are koalas. Now, at this stage, they're not on the endangered species list. They're on the threatened species list for southeast Queensland. We feel that they should be on the threatened species list.
I agree.
Because if you compare the numbers of koalas in the wild, which are about 30,000, I think, which is similar to orangutans in the wild, which are 30,000, orangutans are on the endangered species. So we feel that, as you said, the koalas should be, and in the future we'd like to get into that breeding program too. And another species, our next mammal enclosure, will be for Lumholtz tree kangaroos.
Oh, I love the tree kangaroos.
Which are
endangered
again. Very similar circumstances to the koalas in southeast Queensland. Habitat destruction, and therefore being killed on the roads, trying to get from one stand of rainforest to the other, killed by vehicles and dogs and that sort of thing too.
Another one of their threat is calcinosis. Heard of it?
Yes, that's right. So so at this stage we're not actually breeding, but it's our conservation programs at this stage are only through education.
Okay.
Trying to get people to stop and think about the environment and so on, just through talking about it. But we will, in the next few years, start actually getting into breeding programs.
Okay. How do you become interested in animals?
I suppose that was a family trait. All my family and my mother and father were interested in animals as youngsters. They moved to East Africa, and that's where I was born. And obviously there's a huge variety of animals over there, and that really, I suppose, nurtured the liking for wildlife, and it just sort of grown from there, I suppose.
What other future attractions apart from the Lumholtz tree kangaroo are you planning on?
Okay, now mammal-wise, it'll be Lumholtz tree kangaroos. Down the track, it'll be bilbies. Bilbies will be quite an expensive project building their enclosure, because there's certain requirements that they need, lack of humidity and that sort of thing. And even more expensive if we were to have a nocturnal house. We might actually be doing just little demonstrations with them outside of the enclosure and have them living in an off-exhibit enclosure, which is not nocturnal, but they have their own night and day. That would be the next mammal, and really next enclosures will be for our big enclosure. Our reticulated python.
Yes.
He's going to grow to around 8 metres, so he can't live in that 2 metre enclosure when he's that long. So we're going to build a separate enclosure for him next to the snake house. And then we need an enclosure for our freshwater crocodiles too, those youngsters there, which we'll be building around the corner of the female saltwater crocs enclosure. And that's in probably our 5-year plan, I'd say. Yeah.
Interesting.
We feel so. We're looking forward to it, but with all building projects, it does take money. We've been very lucky with our koala enclosure. Local businesses have come on board, and they've sponsored various things with donations of money, actually, to help us. So.
Do you get your animals from a particular place?
No, all over Australia, all over Eastern Australia anyway. We haven't got anything from Western Australia zoos, but we do swaps with Cairns Tropical Zoo, Taronga Zoo, and there's some smaller zoos around the place that we have. So we've bred animals, and we've had bred to excess because we've known that other zoos would like some of those animals, and we swap. So we've got from Taronga Zoo, we've got a taipan and a collet snake last year, and we're going to give them a couple of young lace monitors this year, and that sort of thing happens.
Well, it's been great talking to you.
Great talking to you too, and the very best of luck with your website. It sounds terrific. I'm looking forward to having a look at it when it's up and going. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Very good.